Okay, so we're moving on to reading and no, writing, page 37, writing. So last time on this writing we did draft number 1, and on draft number 1 I showed you need to have introduction and you need to have all the things that we were writing on page 35 on the blue square that is called helping actions. So you also need to have that square. So you need to have all of these. You need to have introduction, helping actions, conclusion, and quotes. So last time I showed you how you can do a little introduction, and today we're going to make a good introduction. And also I chose the title already. So The Generous Teacher Ellie, because we are going to talk about Teacher Ellie. And why are we going to talk about Teacher Ellie? Because she's generous. So I think that's a very good title. Now we need to introduce in Chinese. How do you say introduce in Chinese?
介绍.
Thank you. So we're going to introduce Teacher Ellie. So what can we talk about here? Also, today here we're only going to do introduction, because last time we did helping actions, and I think conclusion you can do it on your own. Also last time I wrote a little bit of conclusion, and quotes I think we can do it at the very end. We can add the quotes. So today we are only going to work on introduction only. Okay, so I write it here so you don't forget. So this is only in black. This is only introduction. So this is your introduction for your second draft. So you're still going to write all the things, but with this new, better introduction, the helping actions are the same, and you're going to make your own conclusions. And if you can make quotes. Quotes is not too hard. And once we are done with that, anyway, next time we are going to super finish. We're going to do it everything. So today it's okay if we only do introduction. So we need to, usually when you introduce somebody, you need to say who they are, maybe where are they from, how old are they, what they do, and why they are important for you. So for example, if my friend, I have a friend and I want to introduce you to you, I'll tell you, oh, this is my friend John, and I met him in high school, and he's like 23 years old, and he's studying to be a doctor, and he likes to play basketball. Yeah, and I like him because he's a very good friend. That's a great introduction. You show people who this person is. So that's the same we're going to do with Teacher Ellie right now. We're going to show who she is. So let's start. So we can say, I'll introduce to you Teacher Ellie. Or I'll introduce Teacher Ellie. And then we will go from there. So I will introduce Teacher Ellie. Teacher Ellie. Now, so we said what we're going to do, so now we have to do it. So she is my, you can say she's my friend. She's my friend. She was born in Taiwan. So always remember, after period, capital. So she was born in, I don't know if in Taipei, but in Taiwan for sure. So in Taiwan, period. She is 20 years old. 20 years old. Just like me. new marker. So we already said who she is. She's my friend, and she was born in Taiwan, and she's 20 years old, and she works as my English teacher. She works as my English teacher, or she is my English teacher. Let's say she is, or she works as my English teacher. Both are okay. English teacher. Okay, so now we said so many things. So now we know what is she for you, the relationship. What is the relationship? So she's my friend, and where she is from, how old is she, and what does she do? So she works as my English teacher. I will introduce teacher Ellie. She is my friend. She was born in Taiwan. She is 20 years old. She works as my English teacher, and she is very helpful. To end. Because the next thing that is coming is the helping actions. So we need to write something at the end. So when people is reading the helping action, it makes sense. So we can say these are the ways she helps me, because what's coming next is helping action. So it needs to make sense. Oh. 1B. E. Only there? I hope. Okay. So she works as my English teacher, period. And because next is helping, so these are some, so it means there are more, but these are just a few, or these are some of the ways she helps me. And then you write helping actions, and then you write conclusions, and then you write quotes. Okay? But this is a good introduction. You can change if you want, of course, but just try to talk about her a little bit, not too much. Alright? So that was it for today's writing, and now take out your language book again, and we're going to do worksheet for topic 4, worksheet A3. And we're here on the last one. This is the last thing, worksheet. So we're going to finish. Yay! Okay, so quickly, it's only one page, so we can do it quickly, and if you have any questions, you can ask later. Alright, so number 1 is read and circle. So one thing you need to remember is when you use fewer and when you use less. So when you have writing down for you, when you have countables, you will use cha-cha-cha. And when you have uncountables, things that you cannot count, you will use cha-cha-cha. So what is cha-cha-cha? Cha-cha-cha is, for the first one, is you will use fewer or the fewest. And for the second one, for uncountables, so countables are things like a person, a chair, anything that you can count, but things that you cannot count, for example, money, you can't count money, and also water, you cannot count, or any liquid actually, like soup, you cannot count soup. You cannot say, I have many soup. You can say, I have a lot of soup, that's okay. But you cannot say, I have fewer soup than you. You can say, I have less soup than you. And if it's everybody, so I have the least soup of all. It means everybody else has more than me. So we're going to be using these two, countables and uncountables, and to answer all these questions. So for example, number one, the bookstore, books, then our town's library. So books are something you can count. So we're gonna say the bookstore has fewer books than our town's library. Number two, the pet store has, because it's comparing the pet store to it's comparing the dog toys to the cat toys. So because you are comparing, you want to use more, not most. So the pet store has more dog toys than cat toys because everybody loves dogs. Number three, if you look for sales, you can spend money. You cannot count money, so you can spend less money. Alright? You can spend less money. Number four, I like to shop on Monday mornings when the people are at the mall. You can count people. Yeah, right? You cannot say one people, two people, three people because people, it's a plural. But you can, but people, it's plural for person. So you can count person, right? You can say one person, two person, three person, or actually, well, you have to say one person, two people, three people, four people. So people is countable. It's a little bit tricky, but people is countable. So for people, we're going to use the fewest. When there is the fewest people. Yeah, because everybody hates to go to buy things when there's too many people. Next one, number five. I always spend the, every time you look at the before, it means is superlative. So we're going to use most because it's not comparing anything with the toy store. It's just saying, I always spend the most time at the toy store. The most time. So it means it takes a long time in there. And now we're going to look at these pictures and we're going to write here on number two the answers. So Power Sports, it's a store for maybe clothing store. Bell's Boutique, it's also clothing store, and Electronics for All, it's a electronic store. So number one says, of the three stores in Centerville Mall, so they are all in Centerville Mall, Power Sports has the shoppers. Shoppers just like persons, just like people, you can count. So you can say that Power Sports has the fewest here. I'm getting lost on my own writing. The fewest shoppers. Okay, number two, Bell's Boutique has more shoppers than Power Sports. Everybody else has more than them anyways. So more than Power Sports. Number three, Bell's Boutique has shoppers than Electronics for All. So Electronics for All has a lot. So definitely Bell's Boutique has fewer shoppers than Electronic for All. Okay, and number four, Electronic for All has shoppers of any store in the mall. It's crowded, yeah, it's super packed. It is full with people. It's filled. And so Electronic for All has the most shoppers of any store. Yeah, it's super crowded. So the most shoppers from any store. And number five, Electronics for All is also the smallest store. It has space is something you cannot count. You cannot say 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 5 space. But you can say you have more space or I have less. Or in this case, this store has the least space. This store has the least space. Okay, number 6. Power Sports sells some t-shirts, but it has clothing store and clothing. Oh, Power Sports sells some t-shirts, but it has, let's see, microphone. There you go. Power Sports sells some t-shirts, but it has more clothing than Bell's Boutique. I cannot see. Sells some t-shirts. Oh, they have less. Yeah, they have less. That's what's right. Bell's Boutique has more t-shirts, but Power Sports is mostly shoes. So Power Sports sells some t-shirts, but it has less. But it has less clothing than Bell's Boutique. Oh, because we're talking about clothing. And clothing, it's uncountable. You cannot say, I have 1 clothing, you have 1 clothing. You cannot say that. You can say, I have, or also clothes, because you say, I can have some clothes, but you cannot say, I have 1 clothes, 2 clothes, 3 clothes. It doesn't work with that. So it's uncountable, so we have to use less for clothing. Now, on the last one, it says, read and answer the questions for yourself. Think about shopping in your area. So, number 1, which store you and your family spend the most time? So, I spend me and my family, we can say, we spend the most time. We spend the most time. Most time at, and then you write where at, I don't know, at 7-Eleven, something, I don't know. Number 2, spend the least money. So in what store you spend the least amount of money? You and your family. We spend the least, or you know what? We're going to just write. You can answer like this. You can answer the full with the full sentence. But if you don't want, we can just put down the names. So for example, for this one, you can say 101 or some store. And then for number 2, we spend the least money. So it would say we spend, so I'll write it anyway. So we spend the least money at, and you can say where. Then number 3, buy the most presents. So we buy the most presents. The most presents. So for example, when you, for Christmas or for Chinese New Year or for birthday, where do you buy the presents? So you can say where. Maybe you buy presents at 7-Eleven for other people. Maybe, I don't know. Number 4, buy the fewest things. So we buy the fewest things, because you can count things, so fewest. We buy the fewest things, and then you can write down where. At where. Okay, and that was it for today. So hope you understood everything. And if you have any question, you can put it down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.